Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've got your sweatbands ready because today we are going to be looking at how we stay active using G Suite and how we support our students in doing so. We had some great suggestions in for songs. If you're anything like Beth and me, clearly we're just only listening to Beyonce. Not really that great for working out. But hey ho, there you go, each their own. So keep them coming in if you've got song suggestions. Please pop them in the chat. And obviously, as normal, if you have any questions throughout the webinar today, please make sure that you pop them in the comments and we'll make sure that we get to them by the end of the webinar. Just looking at these other great ones coming in, Red Hot Chili Peppers, absolutely, totally down for that. So you might see me keep looking in this direction today. That's because I've just set up another screen. So I'm really geeking out today by having two screens. So apologies if I keep looking in the other direction. But today we're joined, there's actually only three of us today. So we're a small crowd. So me, for those of you that don't know, I'm Kiri. I'm in the Google for Education team focusing on national accounts, which includes Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and London. I'm also joined by Ryan, who is a Google certified trainer with Aspire to Be, and we also have Gavin from Golfton CP School, and I hope I said that right. I was practicing before we started today, and we are going to be hearing some great stuff from these two. Specifically, Ryan's going to take us through a demo on how we might support our students in staying active, and maybe thinking about doing kind of PE lessons, but at home. And also we're going to be learning about Golfton's story of distance learning and how they're using Hub and using G Suite in that. So that's the agenda for today. And as usual, I'm going to get started by talking about some Google for Education resources that are available to you to tune into. So first things first, for those of you that are brand new to G Suite, you may not already know that the tools are free for schools. You have access to a free productivity suite in things like Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Slides. In addition to that, more specifically, and I think really related to education, Google Classroom and Google Forms. And we're seeing a lot of schools right now using Google Meet, for example, to continue lessons online. So the reason that they're so popular is because that they're easy to use. They're really intuitive. You can kind of get this sort of scalability by adding lots of new users and having up to 100 people working on a document at one time, for example, which is pretty great when you're working from home right now and you're trying to get students to work together in groups, maybe getting even nearly your whole school working on a document at the same time. They're built for collaboration. So as I've said, you can work on different things together, which is really unique to working in the cloud, and they're secure by design. So GDPR compliant is a really important one for us to note here in the UK. So if you're just getting started with G Suite for Education, we have lots of resources available to you. One of the key ones that I would point you to as a good starting point is something called Teach from Home. And it is a temporary hub of information. And basically it includes all of the things that Google does for education, not specifically related just to G Suite for Education, but on there it does have really short how-to trainings on how to use some of the tools in a teaching and learning context. But there's also parent and carer information on there, and things about the Internet Legends, for example, which I know is really big in some places, particularly Wales. So do go and take a look at that, and it does host a lot of information about what we have on offer to support teachers, learners and parents. In addition to that, we have, as I said, lots of resources. That's just one of them. If you have been using G Suite for a long time, or right now you're interested in kind of what's new and how you might use the tools and to get some ideas, we've got a blog, but basically that introduces new articles kind of quite frequently, and more so at the moment once we're introducing a lot more features to things like Google Meet, and you can find that at the link there. In addition to that, we've just launched a distance learning training and resources on our Teacher Centre. So this is specific training on how to use the tools for distance learning. And then we have this webinar series, which you're taking part in today. And there's lots of, I think we have around nearly 20 webinars that we've already hosted that are available on the website to go back and watch. And then also the upcoming ones that we have over the next couple of weeks. You will notice that we've got through them quite quickly because we've been doing 4 a week over the past few weeks. So we will be looking at kind of how we continue this moving forward. But yeah, if you haven't already, make sure that you add to the calendar to your calendar, because it will basically populate your Google Calendar if you're using it. And we have a webinar on Google Calendar later on today if you want to know a bit more. But it will kind of auto-populate these webinars that are there. So go and check out the website and you can find all the information there. And just to note about the Teacher Centre, we have launched a new Teacher Centre, and in addition to all of the great content that we had on there before, particularly around certifications, we've looked at how we kind of create these product guides to really help you get started. We're aware that lots of new teachers are now moving to G Suite and maybe are not very comfortable with the tools, or maybe have never used them before. So hopefully these product guides will be, they're basically really short snippets of the different types of things you can do in Google Docs, for example. So do check them out. They're brand new. They'd be great if you want to share them with colleagues or people that you work with who are using G Suite. And it's now, Teacher Centre is now in a new place. So if you head over to the old Teacher Centre, you'll see there's a link to take you to the new one, or you can use that short link there. And finally, if you are new to using G Suite and your school hasn't got a G Suite for Education account set up yet, there's a couple of ways to do this. So if you're a school in England specifically, and you're looking at setting up your own G Suite for Education account for your school, there's actually now funding from the DFE to allow you to do so. So you can actually choose a platform. Obviously, we're going to be talking about G Suite today, but Microsoft Office 365 is also as part of this program. And essentially, you go and fill out the form on the link here, and it will get sent to one of our partners who basically will do that provisioning process for you. So it makes it really quick and easy. Obviously, it's funded, so it's at no cost to the school, and it just means that your school will be up and running with G Suite in no time. If you're a school in Wales, obviously you can use the Hub platform, and basically log in and you have access to Google Classroom and G Suite anyway. And I know that the school's going to talk a little bit about that later on. In Scotland, the same applies for Glow accounts, and in Northern Ireland, the same applies for your C2K domain. So lots of different ways you can access it for free. But yeah, just definitely something to think about, particularly if you're brand new to getting it set up. It just reduces the burden on your IT admin. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Ryan, who's going to give us a demo on the ways that he uses G Suite to help his students keep active. Over to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Kiri. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all keeping well. As Kiri said, we're going to try and stay active today using G Suite, specifically looking at Sheets and YouTube. So staying active in these sort of stay at home, stay alert times. What I've tried to do is show you some activities that, yes, that can be used at the moment in distance learning, but also going forward as well, that could be useful in your classrooms. So I've created a template in Sheets. So this is Sheets, the spreadsheet software that Google have. So I've got it pinned at the top of my tab here. And all I've done, I've inserted some text in a couple of boxes. I've merged a couple of cells and made it look quite aesthetic for the pupils that we're going to share this with. Now, it's not aimed at any year group in particular. It's just foundation phase all the way up to your older students and even staff. As I was looking at this in development, I realized it could be a good way to collaborate with staff as well, to sort of have this staying active tracker ongoing with them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you what options you have within this template. Now, before I suppose you're all going to be looking to get this template, I will show later on as we dive back into the Resource Hub how you can have access to all these templates at the end of today's session. So obviously week commencing, I'm looking to start this with my pupils next Monday, which is the 25th of the 5th, 2020. So again, what I want to do is decide what the targets are going to be around these three areas that I've identified. How many steps per day each pupil I want to see them trying to achieve, the amount of water drunk, and then the fruit and veg, how many portions been eaten. So I'm going to go with the 10,000 step target here. The amount of water drunk per day is going to be 1,800 milliliters. And I'm going to say fruit and veg, 7 a day. Now we're going to jump across to the L column. Now, what I'm going to do in here is insert some basic formula to calculate what my target then would be for the whole week. So we'll get to equals sum to start the formula of addition. I'm going to open a bracket. Now I'm going to select back now then D6, the cell reference for how many steps per day, which you can see has appeared here. And I'm doing this across 7 days, so I'm going to multiply this. So shift and number 8 gives this asterisk, and I'm going to put the number 7 in, closing the brackets. By pressing enter, that's giving me 70,000 as my target total for the week. Now, the same formula, I'm going to need to calculate the amount of water drunk times by 7 and the amount of fruit and veg eaten times by 7. So you can see when I select this individual cell here, L6, there's a little blue dot in the bottom corner. Now, as I hover my mouse over it, I get this little crosshair icon appear. Now, if I click and hold, Google Sheets is automatically going to identify what formula you wanted and is going to calculate it based on the cell reference as well. So you can see 1800, off the top of my head, I wouldn't have known, but it's done that formula for me. Now, 7 as well, 7 times 7, 49. If I was to change that to say 8 portions a day, the calculation has been done for me to change there. So the formula is live at all times. Now, the actual totals, this is what I'm going to want then, the sum of each of these cells as the week goes by with my pupils. So the actual total is going to be equal sum again for addition, open brackets. Now what I'm going to do is click and hold into the Monday cell and drag all the way across then to the Sunday, leaving go and pressing enter, or by closing the brackets, which is good practice for your students, then clicking enter. At the moment, it's showing 0 because I've got no information in these cells. Now again, I'm going to get this crosshair as I hover over that bottom right-hand corner and dragging down, and hopefully, yeah, it's showing me 3 zeros because I've got no data inputted. Now the final column here, N, this is what is going to calculate the difference between what I achieved and what I was hoping to achieve. So we're going to go equal sum, open brackets. Now I'm going to select my M6 cell, and I'm going to minus L6. Close the brackets, clicking enter, and it's showing now that I'm minus 70,000 as my difference. So obviously, as we start inputting the data, this being live will update. Again, go into my crosshair, I'm going to drag that down, and you should see 3 negative scores at the moment. Now, this would be now then complete template that I'd share with the pupils, which I will do shortly via Google Classroom. Now, again, you can alter these, and all the formula will calculate based on what these sums are here. As the pupils receive this, I'm going to make a copy for each student shortly. So when they come in, they'll be able to start inputting their data. So for example, let's go steps. If I did 11,000 day 1, you can see now my actual total is added from the E6 cell, so 11,000, and it's taken away. So I am chipping away at what my total difference is. So let's just say I did 10,000 on the next day, 9,000 on the next day, 11,000 again that day. You can see it's coming down slowly. 11,000 again, and a big day on the Saturday. I went for a really long walk. 10,000. And you can see the difference. My target was 70,000. My actual total I did was 4,500 over that, and that's been worked out for me there. So I've overachieved of what my target would be. Now, this would be the same process for the water drunk calculations and your fruit and veg eaten. Now, yes, it's included some basic numeracy here, but it also allows some pupils at the right age grade to do their own development of digital skills, such as using formula. It might have been something that you've previously taught or are keen to teach. So you could show them how to do it, or again, like I would have probably done with this group, is given them this blank spreadsheet to input. Now, with this ready to go in my Google Classroom that I know Beth has previously used in other webinars, and Matt, what I've done, I've put a notice on the stream to say what I'm going to do about this new Staying Active challenge. Now, obviously, pupils have got different devices at home. There's Fitbits and smartphones and sort of the old school pedometers maybe. But I've mentioned that we've got a couple of old pedometers at school that if they were able to, and if it was adhering to social distancing measures, to be able to come to the school sort of pickup area and borrow a pedometer maybe, to allow them to participate in this. Failing that, they could do some estimation work so it doesn't have to include any devices. Now, later on, as you can see here, I've said on the Resource Hub subpage that's called Stay Active, there's going to be a form that I've made so that all the information that is calculated in their sheet, pupils have the chance to opt into a challenge. Now, not all pupils perhaps are going to engage with this sort of well-being, health and well-being activity, but it's giving them the opportunity to compete with their peers across the year group, the class, the whole school, whatever it may be. So in classwork now, I'm going to schedule this work. You can see Beth's previous work here. Create an assignment, and I'm going to call this Stay Active. And in my instructions here, I could put a detailed paragraph again, like I've put on my stream, describing what the task would be. I won't do it today, but you can imagine the paragraph, what it could be. Then I need to add then the sheet that I've just created in my Google Drive. Here it is here, Stay Active. Now again, as previously shown in other webinars, this is the important drop-down here. So I want to give them, each individual student, their own Stay Active sheet to work on. So the bottom option, make a copy for each student. Okay, now then, I'm going to make it unmarked. And the due date will be the following weekend. So if I start in this on the 25th, I'm going to say that the due date would be, I'll give them Monday, 1st of June. I could put it in a topic. Now then, to schedule this, I don't want them to have access to this till the Monday. So to be able to schedule this now then, is this little drop-down schedule. I want this to go live on the 25th at 8 AM. Perfect. Schedule. Okay, now that's the sheet template provided to the students. What I'm going to do now is jump across to my YouTube activity. Now then, with YouTube, the culture, the way youngsters interact with YouTube at the moment is very much, some of their idols tend to be these YouTube stars who do vlogs and who do gaming tutorials and demonstrations. And a lot of teachers who I speak to while we're out training think that having a YouTube channel is something way beyond what a teacher should do. But it's actually a really useful tool for you to give content to students. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be on screen. It doesn't mean that you have to be uploading your own content. There's millions of videos already there that we're able to borrow. So what I need to do on youtube.com, available through the Waffle or obviously in the Omnibox, by clicking my avatar in the top right corner, it's giving me the option here at the top to create a channel. By creating a channel, it's very straightforward and step-by-step. So to get started, it's giving me the option to either use my own name as my channel or to create perhaps a class channel. For today, I'm going to create my own channel. Okay, now then, there's a lot of customization you can do. You can change to have a specific profile picture for your channel. You can write detailed descriptions all about what the subject is or whatever the area. Links to additional sites, so maybe the school website, the school social media. And now I'm going to set up later with that. And that's the channel created. At the moment, it says I've got no subscribers, and this is the basic interface. By going into customize channel, you do get a lot of other functionality. Things as GLR, so you can put header photos up here, and you can tweak and make it customized to yourself. Okay, now then, any videos that you do upload are going to live in this area here. So at the moment, it's got no videos, but this is where then you can either potentially go YouTube live or you can add new videos. So this camera icon up here with the plus, upload a video or go live. Now, upload a video, you've got 3 different choices to you. What privacy settings? You've got private, where it would be only you and specific people who you invite then to see the videos. It's got unlisted, so anyone with the link could access your videos, but nobody be able to search them. And the sort of open access one then is your public searchable videos that would be open to the rest of the world to borrow. The Go Live one is a slightly more advanced one, obviously, where you'd have to be verified through certain processes. And then to upload your own content by going live, where people can tune in like yourselves today. But what I'm going to do today, focusing on this stay active, I'm going to create a playlist. Now, this is a really useful way of collating a lot of great resources for your classes to look at. Now, to keep with the stay active theme today, I'm going to look at making a playlist of songs to work out to. Now, I know you've all been asked, but I'm going to put my own one in there first, which is Thunderstruck, AC/DC. Great song to start a workout to. And let's go with this one here. Now you can see this is the standard way of working with YouTube. I've done a search and it's appeared here. Now, if I wanted to share that individual video with my class, obviously you've got the share button here, or to copy the URL from what's called the Omnibox at the top. But what I want to do is create a playlist of multiple songs. So very easily, now that I've created my channel, the save function at the bottom here now gives me the chance to do that. I can either tick to watch it later or to create a new playlist. Now, as this is the first song of my playlist, I'm going to be able to click create a new playlist. I'm going to call this Stay Active. Now, I'm going to make this an unlisted playlist at the moment, so anyone with the link can view and save. So you can see added to Stay Active. So this first song here has been added to Stay Active. Now I'm going to add an additional song. I'm going to go with Mrs. Evans is Closer to the Edge, 30 Seconds to Mars. There we go. Let's see what this one's like. I heard it. I don't think myself, Mrs. Evans, to be honest. Okay, so we'll just skip through the video, the advert, sorry. Okay, that song is starting with me here at the moment now. And again, pause that, the save function. But now, with this being the second song, by clicking save now, you can see that the Stay Active playlist is ready to be selected. Again, in the bottom corner, added to Stay Active. Perfect. Just click off and it's gone. So now I now have 2 songs added to my playlist. The third one, I'm going to go with Jonathan Jones. Johnny, it's good to see you for tuning in again. I'm going to go with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Let's Go, Can't Stop. Again, I would do my due diligence before normally putting any songs out to my pupils, but for the purpose of today, I'm sure you can relate to it. Save again here and tick in Stay Active. Added to Stay Active, perfect. And I click the cross or by simply clicking the screen, that disappears. And then by going back then to my channel, so I've clicked my avatar, instead of create your channel, you've now got your channel. So by going back to my channel now, I've not uploaded anything. So my video portfolio is empty, but go into playlists, he says, refresh. Stay with. It's going to stay active here. I don't know why that's not appearing there. Here I've got my playlist here on the left-hand side, Stay Active, with my 3 songs. Now, again, I'm going to park my YouTube section for a second. When we get onto the Resource Hub, I'm going to show you how then I would give the pupils relevant access to this. Okay, the Resource Hub, for those of you that have tuned in previously, is our Google Sites landing page where all our resources as a class might start to collate and build each week. By going to pages, some of you will remember that we've already gotten on in our webinars that have built up. Creative Writing with Matt and Assessment with Beth previously. I've now got a hidden page, a sub-page called Stay Active. Now on this page, I've started putting a little bit of content ready for the pupils to complete now and the tasks that I'm going to be setting them. Like I said, I've created a Google form that's got relevant questions ready for them once they've completed their spreadsheet. Name, which class they're in. I focused at the moment on a Year 7 year group competing across this challenge. How many steps did you do this week would be the raw data of how many steps they did. Then we're looking the difference between what their target was and what your actual steps were. How much water have you drunk? And again, when I was to go in preview mode here, you'll see all the different questions, which we'll do shortly. The Stay Active playlist this is where I'm then going to embed my playlist here. So to do that, we spoke about the embed function here earlier in these webinar series. Now it asks you either to do it by URL, so the web address of the page you want to embed, or by an embed code. Okay, so I'm going to go and get the embed code from my YouTube playlist. Now, by clicking Stay Active here, in this button here, the arrow, the share, by clicking this, it's giving you now an option of embed. And either use the URL of the playlist here, but to embed it, I'm going to copy this information here. Copy. It selected the text for me and put it onto my clipboard. Back to my site. Now, if I click Stay Active Playlist and embed, embed code, I'm going to paste that in there, click in Next. Yes, that's what I want. Insert. So that now, let's actually put it in the wrong place. Let's move him up and put it in the middle underneath where I've said the Stay Active Playlist. And it's put that playlist in there for me. And you can see it says 1 of 3. Now, when we go into preview mode, you'll be able to see the options you've got, the functionality you've got in skipping from one song to the next. Now, just to show you another way of embedding something, I found 2 great websites that tell the students why they should exercise and how they can exercise. A couple of example ones here. And I've embedded those by the URL. So I found another great exercise example here, a routine that's provided by the BBC website. I'm going to copy that address. Now, embed. Now, rather than using the embed code this time, I'm going to use URL and paste that link in there. It's loading. There's my template preview, what it's going to show, and insert. You can see, let's drop that right next to my other NHS ones. So those are links then for pupils to be able to go and interact with. Now then, if I go to preview now up here, this is then the Stay Active sub-page that I've got ready to go. This is what the pupils will see. I'm viewing it at the moment on what it would look like on a large screen, such as a laptop. The Stay Active Class Challenge, like I've said, it would be, if you want to, optional for pupils to participate in this. You could make it compulsory, I'm sure. They fill in their details, how many steps, what was the difference, similar questions for water and the fruit and veg. As they come down here then, they've got the embedded playlist, but I can either click play for the first song, or if I click this option here, the playlist, it gives me all the different songs. Now, I understand I'm doing this in a sort of informal music playlist to help stay active, but this could be the exact same situation if you were a specific subject teacher or wanted to provide e-safety tips, etc. Making a playlist, embedding it onto your site, you've got actions then that the pupils can follow on quite easily. As I come down here, why and how to exercise, I would simply need to click these links and it opens up in a new tab then exactly what that web page is offering. Down here, so once I finish with this session today, now you'll be able to have actions. So you can click these. I've created templates for you to use for any of these spreadsheets I've shown today. And I've also included the template Google form, which is featured up here. So if anybody wants to use these at any point, please feel free. What I will do finally now is come out of preview mode, go into pages, right-click in here, and I'm going to show in navigation so that you can see that the line has now been removed, so that Stay Active page is live on our Resource Hub website. With regards to the collaboration element, so as the days go by and pupils start opting into the class challenge, what I might do then is give those pupils relevant access. So in my drive, I've got the responses from my Stay Active class challenge. And when I go in here, this is where now I might offer people have remote collaboration and where they could develop it maybe to sorting the data, creating some charts and interacting then collaboratively. Now, I won't go into it too much because I know next Tuesday's webinar is focusing on analysing some data in sheets. But you can see that I've had 4 submissions from 4 different classes. How many steps did they take, the positive or negative actual numbers, what their difference was, and that's across from steps to water to the fruit and veg portions, which hopefully we can get up all in the positive numbers with my year group that I focused on. So that's how potentially using Sheets and YouTube that I would interact then with G Suite and making all pupils stay active during these challenging times. Kiri.
Thanks so much, Ryan. That was it went in an unexpected direction. I didn't think I was going to have to do maths at on a Tuesday afternoon. So thanks for showing us some quick tips on using spreadsheets to do that. I don't know if anyone's like me, but I hated maths at school. But I think this is a really, when we think about embedding it right into different types of subjects, and we think about how teaching students to learn spreadsheets is a really tricky thing. But putting it in context of like staying fit and like counting your steps is something that we can all associate with now, and I really like using Sheets for that purpose. And yeah, absolutely love the idea about creating playlists on YouTube as well. Just to note, if you go to youtube.com/learning, there's actually some pre-created playlists on there about different subjects. So I was just having a look then, like the history of World War II, and there's like a playlist already created of useful videos that students can watch. So if you're unable to log in and create your own playlist, there are already playlists out there. This one particularly, youtube.com/learning is pre-created for you, so you could send students that way. This one's more specifically for sort of 13 plus ages, but there is the YouTube app for kids as well, which obviously has suitable content for children too. So YouTube is a really great resource, right? It saves teachers having to do a ton of like creating their own stuff and creating their own videos. And I know there are some challenges around using YouTube in some schools, but I think whilst students are at home and they're probably accessing YouTube to do, tutorials on how to trim their own hair or whatever, they're probably getting up to YouTube, which we're all doing right now. Maybe it's a good resource. Right, yeah. Maybe let's not ask that question.
Not for me.
What are you searching for?
I wouldn't be sharing that with my year sevens, no.
Okay, someone's asked a question. Do you know what advice we should follow for YouTube playlists and accounts? Should teachers be making a new YouTube account just for their teaching? Great question. So depending on where you are and how you access G Suite, this is really down to actually full stop, it's down to a school policy, right? So there are lots of different ways that we see teachers do this. This isn't something we would advise you to do. This is absolutely down to your safeguarding policies, to your policies around digital access and kind of what procedures you have in place for that. As you may be aware, there are some controls in your admin console for YouTube, so you can actually block every single YouTube video unless a teacher goes on and authorizes it and clicks that it's safe to watch. So there are some controls that allow a school to preset that for students and teachers. I think what's really important to note is that YouTube is not covered under your core G Suite for Education apps, therefore it has different terms and conditions. So you'll find that because it's under a kind of consumer terms and conditions, there are the things that normally apply to G Suite for Education, like no adverts, for example, doesn't apply when you're using YouTube, even if you sign in using your G Suite for Education account. It's just to be mindful, and I think it's definitely a conversation to have with the appropriate people in your school about how you want to move forward with that. And I'm sure that there's lots of I'm sure people in the chat might have some ways that they're using YouTube or solutions that they've got that they might be open to sharing. But it's absolutely down to the school and sometimes down to the teacher, right, in terms of what they feel comfortable with and using YouTube and creating that content. But I think it's sort of safe to say that students probably have access to YouTube by some means. So maybe, at least linking out to good content that's been pre-created, whether by you or you found a really good, useful playlist, is probably the way forward in terms of making sure that they're focused on what they should be focused on and not going up to look of videos of cute puppies, which is definitely kind of where I end up when I'm on YouTube, or Beyonce. Yeah. Leaping back to our initial question.
I haven't added any Beyonce to my playlist, to be honest.
Okay, right. I think other questions were answered in the chat. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Gavin, who's going to come and talk. Hi, Gavin. He's going to come and talk to us about their journey with G Suite and distance learning right now. So over to you, Gavin.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I work in Golfton CP School in Flintshire in North Wales. We're a 2-form entry school with 445 pupils at the moment. A quarter of those are FSM. And we started using the G Suite for education when it came onto the hub applications that we could use. And it's now being used throughout the whole of the school. So I'll just go through how we've made sure that we're using the G Suite tools. So we started off understanding that the G Suite was going to be added to the hub apps, and we only use the hub apps just because they're all free for us to use. So being the DCF lead in the school, I realized that I had to upskill myself. So I used the Google Training Center to undertake the training to become a level 1 educator, and then did my level 2 educators in the same year, just as we were starting to use G Suite. So we were a pilot school for the hub program. And in doing that, I was able to get some of the classes on board to have a go at using G Suite with their pupils. The head's been really supportive. Nicola Cooper's initially bought 30 Chromebooks, and we realized that for pupils to really make use of the IT in the school, we had to work one-to-one. We were using laptops that were shared, and they'd possibly be working in 2 or 3 to a device and having to work collaboratively. But understanding that in the future we were going to have one-to-one devices in order to be able to understand where the pupils were with their learning. So we bought a set of 30 Chromebooks, and what this allowed was pupils to log in via their Hub Cymru password. So it's just a single sign-in, and they were able to log in and get everything in one place. So we targeted the Year 4 teachers. One of them was really keen with the idea, and then we've really not looked back since then. So following on in the January, we started with the training, and went through then the whole of the G Suite apps. We started off with just everybody understanding how Google works best. So it was right back to basics. The staff were using Google Chrome as their Chrome browser. That they then understood how to use the Google Drive. And what was nice is that we were able to then use the shared drives and change the permissions within there. So I know that it's already been mentioned that you can have people just going in as commenters, or they can have editorial rights, or they can just view different things. So that allowed us to really share it with the whole of the school, and ensure that the staff were able to access these things at any point. So the first thing we did then was to introduce Google Classrooms, and as a basis that, the portal to all the learning that the pupils have is from there. And in that first session, we went through the Google Chrome, the Drive, Classrooms, and then it was just the Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides applications. What we then did was allow the staff to go off and make use of those, so that they were able, if they had any questions, to come and ask, and they were then able to implement them into their teaching, into projects or activities that they were doing in the class. And then we've since moved on to make use of Google Forms, where we can either collate information from the pupils. We're using Google Forms from the school office now, where they're sent out and the parents can respond, filling in digital forms rather than class letters going out and having to be collated and then all the data being inputted. Google just does it all for you. And then we've moved on to Google Sites as well. So what we've been able to do is create an online resource. So any any staff training that I've done, I've been able to put then into short video clips, and there's a Google Sites that we've got for the staff, and they can just go in and choose and pick the different things that they want, just as a refresher that they might want to use. The next thing we did was, I think fortunately my position is I'm a year one teacher in the school, and what that means is that I can try all these things out with year one, and if they're able to do it, I can. There's no excuses from the staff further up the school with why they're not doing something. So in year one, we introduce the Chromebooks to the pupils in the autumn term. So it's usually around the October time when they've all settled in. We introduce it that they have a single sign-in, so they just log in using their Hub Cymru passwords in Wales, and I'm sure that the other schools are able to log in with the same way. And with year one, they're all then having to navigate through the portal to get to their Google Classrooms. They all join using the class code that Google Classrooms provides you with. And then we start nice and simply just with Google Slides. And the way that I do that is that we can have stories that they have to reorder, changing the view of the slides profile. So they can reorder the slides, and then when they're more competent, they might be able to add text into it or just drag the text in depending on what the activity is. So the year ones also then we're able to discuss that their work goes into their Google Drive. So anything that they complete, they know that they're keeping a copy of. And the same when we're using Google Drawings, that they quite like to drag the pictures and shapes onto to create their own images. So it's great with that cross-curricular activities as well. One of the ones that they really enjoy doing is Google Earth. And one of our activities is houses and homes in the local area. And by sharing a Google Earth that I've created, what I've been able to do is to get all the pupils to Google search for the school. They all then drop the man icon onto the road, and they have to follow the road to their houses. And then what they've all been able to do is add pins to where their homes are. And that then collates it all onto one Google Earth document that we're able to come back and look up on the big screen after they've done it. And what's nice is the way that the Google Classroom allows us to share all the other applications that are available to us with the pupils as well. So we use the Flipgrid is used. I'm able to just share the link with the pupils through their Google Classroom. They go on, find it, and everything's just quite a simple login for them. So they're using Flipgrid on it. Their J2E activities are all shared through Google, and all the applications work quite nicely when we're sharing those activities for the pupils to do. Sorry, I should have said then, within year one, what it does allow us to do is to discuss the security of all their activities as well. So we discuss the need for why they've got passwords, the padlock that appears in the search bar at the top, their digital footprint of what they're doing. And I think one of the big things is that year ones haven't got any fear of anything. So certainly when you're using technology, they've got no qualms about pressing different things and having a go. And it really does highlight that year ones are quite capable of completing these tasks and activities. What we've then done, because we're using the digital, the Google for Education throughout the school, I think one of the biggest issues we used to have is that when pupils completed their work on the computer, they'd all save it into their folder on the school server. And it really was a nightmare to navigate. So if you wanted evidence for different things, you'd have to go and find it. You'd have to find out what it was called. You'd have all sorts of different barriers in your way to finding the work nicely. Google Classrooms obviously allows everything to be stored in the class folder. So that what happens is that teacher can then go and access the different things in the different places. And the next step is what we've done is we've created e-portfolios, and we've done that using Google Sites. So each pupil now has their own Google site. So it's their own pupil-owned e-portfolio. We've saved the home screen as their one-page profile. So it goes through all the things that we look at with the pupils of how they like to learn, the kind of support that they like to get, a real introduction to the pupil and what they enjoy doing in school. And again, we've then gone into it where we've got pupils then collating all their evidence that they've done digitally through the year. So on different pages, we've set it up so that they can either attach their work during the terms that they're working in. So it can be term 1 and they collate all their work on that page. Term 2 is all on a different page, or it can just be that on the one page they just collate their work for the year then. And what it allows us to do is to ensure that the pupils in Key Stage 2, which are using these, have a deeper understanding of the sharing and permissions of the different things that they're using in G Suite. Because the nice thing is that when they attach their work to their Google site, they actually have to change the permission setting on that piece of work. And when they go in, they can choose who sees it, whether it's open to the entire world, whether it's only open to people with the link, people on Hub with the link, or it's just blocked to them. So we're able to have those discussions with purpose rather than just discussing, why people would want to see their work or share it. And the other thing is, again, that it works nicely with all the other applications. I think Google is one of the programs that works nicely with Microsoft, with Flipgrid, with J2E. Being able to use those embed codes or the URL links into their Google Sites has allowed the pupils to take ownership of where they are. And with this being through Hub, that e-portfolio then is going to be with them all the way through school. So they're going to be able to add pages for the years that they go up into secondary school. And what it really does is give them a key understanding of how to create a digital portfolio. So it may not be that when they're 16 or 17 and applying for jobs, that they're sharing their e-portfolio with all the work that they've created in years 3, 4, 5, and 6 in Golfton. What they're going to be doing is hiding those pages and only showcasing the best of their work. But what we're doing is we've got the building blocks to it. As I said, all the portfolios are owned by the pupils, but what I get them to do is to share their page link with me, and then I've been able to collate all those into the different classes. So as a school, we can go on and look at any of the pupils' e-portfolios to see how they're getting on, what are they enjoying. And I think having the ownership where they're able to add in their achievements outside of school as well really gives them ownership of what they're showcasing. And then finally, some of the things that we've had when we've been working remotely, a couple of the issues that pupils have been that they're not logging in to their Google Chrome at home using their Hub email. So I'd definitely recommend that any schools that are using this, if they're having feedback from the pupils that they can't get into their work, it's quite possibly that they're in their Google Classroom and then Google Slides opens in their parents' email account or somebody else's who's on it as well. And secondly, one of the other ones is that pupils delete the work from the assigned box. And then if they want to find it, all they need to do is go back to the add button at the bottom of that and add it back in from their drive. I know that during this remote learning period, I've delivered some Google training to Raw Street School in Ruthin, where we had the whole school, all the school staff come on. And I did an hour and a half of just those basics of introducing the Google Chrome, the Drive, Classroom, Sheets, Slides and Docs, And within a week, they had their whole school up using Google for Education as their portal for where they're sending work out. And the feedback I've had from them is that they're getting 80-90% responses from their pupils. And so I think, Google is such a user-friendly tool that if anybody's looking at using something to support their children with or their pupils with home learning, it's certainly one that I'd recommend. The other thing that we've started doing is the Screencastify extension that's available through Hub. And I know my partner's school, who again have just started using it, are now using Screencastify to really give that introduction to the lesson to the pupils. I know it's quite easy to lose some of the personal touches that you'd have as a teacher in just typing it out in the activity at the top, but sharing a Screencastify with the pupils of the expectation and some of the tips then that they can use in completion of that work really does make a difference. I think it's important to remember that as much as staff are having to get to grips with the remote learning and some of the tools that they may not be familiar with, the pupils are also having to understand. And I think just being able to show them some nice little tips using the Screencastify really does make it quite simple for the pupils then. But other than that, that's it from me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gavin.
Okay.
And yeah, I had a little bit of echo then. I absolutely love the fact that you gave so many different ideas there about how we can use some of the different tools. And I know that some people in the chat were definitely liking the idea about your e-portfolios and things like that. I think just like a question for me really is when you have year one students who I'm sort of saying this out of personal experience of people asking me this question all the time, right? So I'm going to pose it to you and sort of and get a sense of what your answer might be. But obviously there are people perceive that there are some challenges with introducing this level of technology, shall we say, to year one students. With this year one students with this expectation that they're kind of used to just like getting on a device and touching a screen and tapping away. What's been your experience with your year one students using a device that has a keyboard, because that poses some challenges, or some people would think that poses some challenges, and two, with actually using the tools in a meaningful way. And I know you have talked to this, but I'd love to hear a little bit more around kind of specifically for that age group, and how have you overcome some of those barriers and challenges?
Yeah, when I start to introduce the Chromebooks to year one, I think it is a bit daunting, but they know that I use them in year one. So when they're coming up from the reception class, they're aware that we're going to be using them at some point. And the way that we introduce it is that for one of the sessions, and it may be an hour in the afternoon, we get one of the trolleys of 30 Chromebooks. Fortunately, we've got 4 of them in the school. So we book them out through a Google Sheet, so staff are able to access that at any point and know that they're free. But we will get the Chromebooks out. They all have their logins on a password sheet that they keep in their boxes or their trays, and they have to go and get them. They log in, and the nice thing is with the Chromebooks is that they store a number of owners on the right hand side of the screen. So once they've logged in once, they don't need to remember their whole @hubcymru.net password again. They need to remember their 8-digit password. And the way that we've worked it is that there should only be 16 pupils in the school using one Chromebook. So we've numbered them all, so that list on the right hand side doesn't become overpopulated. So whoever uses Chromebook set 3.1 will always use set 3.1. So they log in quite quickly using the keyboard, and they're quite eager to get on. One of the things that holds year one back is their reading ability for some of them. So making use of showing the pupils on the screen that we've got in class, showing them what's expected, that then they go off and they log in, they navigate to the Google Classroom all really easily, to be honest. Once they've been shown once, they know how to go and get there. They know the next piece of work is at the top of their stream, and they click on it and they're able to do that work. As I say, we're able to differentiate in some respects. That on the slides, some of them might have words to add. They can type in. We'll give them a sheet that they have to copy. But all, and this is even for pupils with statements that I've had in class. They understand that they hold down the shift button and press a key to get the capital letter. Their wants to do it is what drives them to be able to do it. It's not something that you're asking them to do, and they don't enjoy. They want to do it, and they can all do it. They don't have any issue with using the trackpad. They're all quite capable once they're shown how to use two fingers to enlarge something or to move something on the screen. By Christmas, we've got no issues. They've been fully introduced. The next issue is my teaching them to read and write, which is then hopefully going to be implemented into what they're doing into the classroom then.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because I think as well there's definitely an element, and I've heard this from secondary school teachers, and this isn't me just sort of like making it up, but whether there's some instances where secondary school students are starting in year 7 and they don't actually know how to type because they've never had to, right? And then they're thrown into a situation where they're having to learn a brand new skill quite late on in life. And obviously you might then have that disparity between a student that's used a device with a keyboard and then one that hasn't. So yeah, really, and as someone just said, really practical tips there about how you might introduce this sort of technology to students at an earlier stage than maybe people might even think they want to, right? Actually the benefits that provides, because then and the other thing I would say, there's two things kind of to your point as well. One other way that we're seeing this be done in a one-to-one model, where it purely is one-to-one with one-to-one devices for every student in a school, is that obviously they have their own device, so that it's only them on that device, right? So you can use that profile method just per person. And the other thing is, on a managed Chromebook, you can actually pre-fill in the @ So some schools, not particularly in Wales if you're using the hub domain, but if you're in England and you have a school that's set up an account that's like @gsuite.schoolname.sch.uk, like that is a really challenging email address to type in. So you can actually pre-fill those email addresses into a Chromebook, so that every time someone comes to log in, all they need is that first bit before the @ and their password. So that's another way of doing that. And on the other side to that, it's really important, right, that we're teaching students to have really good passwords, even at a young age, because they're still accessing things online, potentially where they might have to log in, maybe not quite as young as year 1 for sort of personal use of things, but you never know. So I think that lesson is a really important one to have early on, because it just embeds that kind of security around passwords and protecting your data and your information. So yeah, I think it's really important. And if anyone wants any more advice about kind of having students use these types of devices and G Suite at a young age, obviously you can share this and rewatch this webinar. And we also have one specifically I can think of, which is Britannia Village School. They spoke on one of our webinars before, and they've done a very similar thing. So definitely worth checking up on that one, because I think we may have asked that question to them as well. So thanks for sharing that, Gavin. So we are actually out of time now, and we don't have any more questions in the chat, which is great. It means you guys have covered everything, which is awesome. If you can give us some feedback, that would be awesome. You can see at the bottom there's a link, and there's also a link in the chat. We will be back later on today at 3:30 for a webinar about Google Forms. Sorry, that's not true, about Google Calendar. I won't be leading it, it'll be my colleague Simon, but I will be back on Thursday for our next webinar, and then we have one tomorrow as well at 3:30. So lots of you can choose from different ones to come and see. Check out on the webinar website. Thank you for our speakers today. Thanks so much, Gavin, for joining us. Okay. And yeah, thank you for all tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.